You're now with Jaimee, the place for industry leaders ready to scale to 7 figures and beyond. Today's show is brought to you by The Shift, my one-on-one intensive session to completely shift the trajectory of your business in just 7 days. I've got a spicy episode for you today because it is all around one of those hype phrases that I have seen surfacing all over the internet in the coaching industry. And I'm just so done with these phrases being used really out of context to suit people's marketing. So I'm going to dive into that. But first, let me share with you some power, some wisdom from my journal. You don't need more information. You're smart. You know what to do. The most important thing you can do is figure out why you aren't taking the action. Unpack your resistance. Speak. Don't wait to have it all figured out. Don't wait for the perfect photos, videos. Just start sharing. You are the author of this chapter. You choose how it is written. I really want to speak to this for a moment before I dive into this episode, but we're really in this era of information. We have so much information at our fingertips. We can Google anything, we can watch YouTube and basically learn anything that we want to learn for free. And this is amazing. I love this. I love being able to tap in and listen to a podcast and learn something new, listen to an audiobook and learn something new, pick up an actual physical book and learn something new, watch a YouTube and learn something new. And I know Tony Robbins is like, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? That's all good and well. But here's a pattern that I see people getting stuck in. Women just like you, getting so stuck in this cycle of learning and consuming information and then not taking the action. What I need you to know and to remember is that you already know. Unless it is a true knowledge gap, which does exist, we're all here in our beautiful little expertise areas. And even in myself, right? I am an expert in the subconscious mind. I am an expert in the superconscious, in quantum, and in all of that related to business, subconscious reprogramming, you name it, right? That's all my field. What's not my field is marketing. What's not my field is tech, right? They are knowledge gaps that I have. And so I can then choose whether it's a knowledge gap that I need to fill in order to move forward or a knowledge gap that I can simply outsource to someone else in order to move forward. They're the options, right? But what I see is women getting caught up in thinking that these things are knowledge gaps, thinking that they need to learn something else or get another certification or, do something else before they can reach that next level of success, before they can, sell that new program, launch that new coaching container, that new service, that new offer, whatever it is for you, right? The truth is, you don't need to learn anything else. And the belief that you don't know enough is keeping you stuck. That is called imposter syndrome, when you feel like you don't know enough. And what's wild is that imposter syndrome is this phenomenon that only happens to fucking successful people. People who are not successful don't feel like imposters. In my time as a manager, I cannot tell you the number of resumes that I read from people who seriously believed that they could do the job that I was advertising for, but they had no experience even close to what I needed. I literally had people applying for pharmacist positions who hadn't even been to uni. Work that out. Because people who are not successful don't recognize their limitations. And I say that with love. I realize, I recognize right in this moment that sounds really bitchy. And it's not to say that people are not successful because they have limitations, but it's because they truly are applying for things that are outside of their realm, right? I'm an expert in subconscious, in superconscious, in quantum, as I've said. I'm not going to go and put myself forward for a marketing position. I know that that's outside of my realm, right? But this whole phenomenon that you're not enough, that you don't know enough, that you could be called out for not knowing enough, that's happening to you because it's your subconscious keeping you safe. Because deep down, you actually already are enough. You already know enough. And what you actually need to do is start implementing the knowledge that you already have, not going and learning something new. And so that is really the background of where that journal excerpt is like coming from and where it's going. It is about not getting caught in this information era and knowing that you already know the things that you need to know within you. And instead of focusing on, what gaps you might have and what you think you need to know to move forward, it's actually looking at, well, what really is keeping me from moving forward? What really is keeping me stuck where I am? What resistance am I feeling to taking the action with the knowledge that I already know? Because that is actually going to unpack so much more than going and doing another course, going and listening to another YouTube video, going and listening to another podcast. So I invite you to really tap into, like, where are you over consuming information? And this is actually why going forward in my business, I do not see myself contributing to the information overload that is in the industry, that is in the internet, right? You won't see me anymore putting out random masterclasses that are based on information, courses that are based on information, programs, nothing. I don't desire to contribute to the overload of information that is here. My job is to help you see the power that you have within you, because you're fucking powerful, and to remove the resistance, to help you remove the resistance, to help you shift your identity to getting in action and achieving everything that you desire to achieve. All right, let's talk about congruency. Because I don't know about you, but this little phrase about being incongruent and having congruency listed as like a verb in a checklist of things that you need to do or be in order to be successful online is fucking driving me insane. And I see these little like trends emerge all the time. And this is specifically in like the coaching industry, because obviously if you're a service provider, it's just not relevant, but you've probably seen a coach speaking about congruency. And I just like, I feel like I just need to blow this whole popsicle stand up, because it's being used so much out of context. And honestly, I just don't believe that a lot of the people saying like you have to be in full congruency in order to achieve everything that you desire. It's actually BS. And I have proof of that. Because if you think about it, okay, let's first start with what being congruent actually means. Because when I first started seeing this word being thrown around, I was like, it caught my attention. I've probably used it myself at some point, but I like to say that I'm using it in the correct context, because my power is in seeing these things and being like, that doesn't sit okay with me, but this is how it sits with me. But let's I've literally Googled what congruent means, and believe it or not, it's not just the triangle that you probably or maybe don't remember learning about in school, congruent triangles, congruent angles. No. Congruent means in agreement or harmony, right? That's it. That's as simple as it is. In agreement or harmony. Now, I believe the context that is missing from most coaches that are talking about this is that the agreement/harmony that they're referring to is with your values, with you basically walking your talk and doing the things that you say you do. It's kind of like practice what you preach, right? And I'm here for that. I am so here for being congruent with your values in business and in life. I genuinely believe that is so important, to be in our power, to be in alignment, and literally to just be in flow, right? It makes sense. It's a no-brainer. What I don't agree with is people saying that you cannot be successful unless, because it's just not true. There are quite literally millionaires and billionaires in this world who don't play into any of this stuff. They are successful because they chose to be successful. They're not out there doing shadow work, reprogramming their mind, shifting their identity. They're not doing any of this stuff that we all in this online space are talking about. You know, they're literally just creating because they want to create. They're selling because they want to sell. Do I think that you should be that way? No. I believe that the easier way is to integrate the action with everything that I know about subconscious, superconscious, quantum, right? It is in the shadow work. It is in the emotional intelligence. It is in all of that stuff, right? But it is not a clear yes or no. It is not a clear you have to do all of this stuff in order to be successful. I can guarantee you that there are certain well-known people that you already know about. I'm not going to say names because I don't want this to be like flagged, but there are so many well-known people in the business world who don't live in alignment with values, or who don't share, you know, strong values in general. But it doesn't stop them from being successful. Now, the real reason that I'm actually fired up by this is because I keep seeing posts about people that are like, you say that, you know, you can help someone achieve X amount in their business. You say that you can give this transformation. You say that this, but then you're wondering why you are not attracting clients, and yet you can't stay hydrated through the day. I'm sorry, what? And another one was, you know, you're reaching out to high caliber clients, you're charging X amount for your services, and you're wondering why nobody's buying, and yet your car is a gigantic mess. What? Like, what? What the fuck do these things have to do with you as a business owner, with you as a coach, with you as a service provider, with you being able to assist someone with a transformation? Like, let's be real. We're in business to help people. Yeah, we're in business to make money and to, you know, live a freedom life and all of those other things. But also, we're here to provide a transformation for people. Whether you're a service provider, a coach, whatever it is, there is a problem that you solve for your clients, right? And that's what you're here to do. How messy your house is, your car, whether you've got a fucking pile of washing that hasn't been folded. And like, that's me, right? I've literally got 2 baskets. I'm pointing there. You can't see on the podcast, but I'm like literally pointing to the wall behind me, because on the other side of that wall are 2 baskets of washing that I still have to fold, because I have a life. I'm a mum. I have a 2-year-old who takes up a lot of my time. I'm also a pharmacist, so I do still do shifts in the pharmacy. And I have my business. I have this podcast. Like, I do all of the things. I keep all these balls in the air. I'm a wife. I'm a bloody looking after a sick chook at the moment. That's a whole other conversation. Folding, washing every day is just not high on my list of priorities. And what I actually recognized in the past week, because I do put a lot of pressure on myself for things like that, because I genuinely desire like a tidy environment. It does really fuel my creativity to have a neat and tidy environment, right? But I still have a lot of conditioning, and I put a lot of pressure on myself for how much I should be achieving. And probably you do as well, because I see this pattern in a lot of high achieving women. We feel like we really have to do it all. And, you know, we just don't. We just don't. I literally watched a TikTok the other day, and it was this woman who just had like the best ever launch. You know, she makes $1 million a year in her business. She's just had an epic launch. She's like, you know what? Like, I'm celebrating my launch and blah, blah, blah. And this is amazing. And I just want to share that I'm a real person. And she literally pivots the camera, and there is a bed piled with unfolded washing. Congruency? does not mean that you have to be a fucking perfect human being. And I don't open these conversations on people's posts, mainly just because I couldn't be bothered. And I find that these people are not open to the conversation. But I've just started unfollowing people where I see things like that, because I'm like, this is actually just scare tactics for marketing. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Saying someone is being incongruent and that is the reason that they are not achieving the success in the business that they desire, and it's because they don't hydrate themselves, they have a messy car, or they haven't folded their washing, is fucking BS. Where did we decide that we had to be perfect human beings in order to have success? That's the problem-solving narrative that I have been ranting about. You know, a few episodes ago, I introduced it, and I spoke about how personal development, particularly, has us really stuck in looking for problems to solve before we can have success. But in my world, we don't play that way, because we don't need to be perfect. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You don't actually need to heal from your trauma in order to have success. The thing is, in my opinion, like, doing all of those things just makes the path easier. It makes the journey less bumpy. It just makes taking action so much more simple, right? But you don't have to do anything in order to be successful other than sell something. You know, that is what business is. It is packaging your brilliance and selling it. And that's all you need to do to be successful. Package your brilliance and sell it over and over and over again. Increase your prices, whatever you need to do. But whether you have a tidy house, unfolded washing, a clean fucking car, dishes in the sink, none of that matters. The universe is not holding up a checklist and like, oh my God, Jaimee didn't do her dishes last night. She's been incongruent, so I'm not going to allow that unicorn client who wants to pay her in full to reach out to her. That's not how it works. And I really think the context needs to be spoken about so much more often. That doesn't even make sense, but you get my drift. We need to share these ideas with context, you know, and using these buzz phrases that go around. You know, at one stage it was all about quantum, people literally calling everything quantum just because quantum was a buzz phrase, without actually understanding what quantum actually fucking is, and that it's science. You know, there's people that are like, you know, I'm not even going into that conversation any deeper. But basically, if you're going to use a phrase, you need to understand what that phrase means in context to what you do in your business. But I really want to hit this home that to be congruent literally just means that you are acting in alignment with your values. That's it. If you value fun and freedom, you need to act in accordance with that. That means that, you know, from, let's say you're getting brand photos, it means that you're not going to be sitting having these like stiff photos in, you know, an office with a laptop. Your brand photos are going to be more lifestyle shots. Do you know what I mean? That is congruence. That is acting in alignment. You know, if you value being present with your family, being a present mom, a present partner, that means that you're not going to be scheduling calls on days that you have your child, or that you're supposed to be being present with your partner or husband or wife or whatever, right? That is acting in congruence. And to not be in alignment with that is going to make things feel harder than they are. It is going to be triggering your resistance, triggering your subconscious. You're going to be feeling like an imposter because you're not acting in accordance with the things that you value. That is what's important about this conversation, right? The only way that being hydrated, having a clean car, having a clean house is even relevant to this conversation is if they're one of your top 3 highest values and you're not acting in alignment with that. That's the only way that it's relevant. If one of your top 3 highest values is literally having a clean, tidy car and having a clean house and staying hydrated, and you're not doing those things, yeah, absolutely, you're going to feel like an imposter. But these are not the reasons that your business is not where you desire it to be. These are not the reasons that you are struggling to take action, that you feel stuck, that you feel out of touch with your business. It is not because you are incongruent. It is because you are feeling resistance, because you have probably got too comfortable in your comfort zone and you're scared to do things differently. And I can almost guarantee that there's just some other sabotaging pattern that is going on behind the scenes that's keeping you stuck. And I just want to reiterate again, it has nothing to do with how clean your car is, with how many dishes are in your sink, or with how big that pile of washing is waiting for you to fold it. The universe doesn't give a fuck about those things. Your clients don't give a fuck about those things. Nobody gives a shit, right? Nobody gives a shit. You get to create what you desire to create simply because you desire it. Acting in alignment makes it easier. Dealing with the resistance, reprogramming the mind, shifting the identity, doing the shadow work, all of those things, they just make the process easier. They just make it feel more flowy. They just make sure that, you are free of outside distractions and you're not being held back. But none of this stuff is the thing that determines your success or failure. You are what determines your success or failure. You taking the action, you doing the things that you know you need to do because you know what you need to do. And coming back to the message that I shared at the beginning of this episode, it's just about unpacking why you're not taking the action. And I can guarantee once again that it has nothing to do with how clean your house is, with how many dishes are in your sink, or with how tidy your car is.